Good day, everyone. I am Julian Bacaso, and I am from the Group 3. So welcome to our video presentation, and we will be talking about the psychological theories of art integration. We really hope that you will understand and dig deeper about our report. So I will be the first reporter for this topic. Creativity is the stepchild of psychology. Just so, the creative process can be observed and described, but its source remains obscure. Psychology's numerous philosophical orientations have each attempted a meaningful relationship with this stepchild, with varying degrees of success.
So hello everyone. So for today, we're going to talk about psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic of Sigmund Freud. So Sigmund Freud was born at Sigmund Freud on May 6, 1856, and he died September 23, 1939. Was an Austrian neurologist who founded the discipline of psychoanalysis. Sigmund Freud, founder of psychoanalysis, he said that every human had an unconscious, a preconscious, and conscious level to their minds. According to his theory, the unconscious mind was the largest part, but also was the hidden or repressed part. So when we say psychoanalysis, I believe that in the power of unconscious and determining our day-to-day behavior. And Sigmund Freud is one of those explain that our day-to-day behavior has a lot to do with our unconscious. Hence, big part of our personality is known to us because our personality is conscious, but rather it's deep down is unconscious. So that's what the purpose of Sigmund Freud of his theory. So we all know Freud divided the human psyche in three interactive components, which is the id, ego, and superego. So id does not care about reality, about the needs of any else, only its own satisfaction. So id is pleasure principle that tell to our mind that do not do this, don't think about the others. So in other words, selfish, which is gitintal sa demons nga ayaw na buhata, imna niyang mga alcoholic, ayaw na aguban. So which is selfish pagkatao without knowing the consequences. Then second is ego. It's based on the reality principle. The ego understands that other people have needs and desires, and that sometimes being impulsive or selfish can hurt you in long run. So ang ego, which is ikaw, silbi ikaw ang nag-control sa imong self, which is naa kay kanang analysis or analytic nga kanang imong ginahuna nga naapay uban. Ikaw ang mag-control sa imong kaugalingon, dili ang id kung dili sad ang superego, which is ikaw ang mag-control sa imong self. That's an ego. So superego, which is the normal part of us and develops due to the moral and ethical restraints placed on us by our caregivers. Many equate the superego with a conscience as it dictates our belief of right and wrong. So ang superego, which is kanang other side na to kanang silbi siya ang kanang angel na to nga mo dictate nga ayon na buhata kay kanang makadaot na nimo. So ang imong ego, which is wala na also dili na ko buhaton kay naay consequences maabot na ko if ako nabuhatan. So mao ni ang superego, which is nagdictates kung unsa ang right and wrong. So that's all, and thank you.
And now, after we talk about what are the basic information about the psychoanalytic theory, now we will talk about the application of psychoanalytic theory in arts integration or arts teaching and learning. So first, as an art teacher, an understanding of the theory of a psychoanalysis will help teachers deal with students' feeling and problem. So with this, we can conclude, we can evaluate, and we can assess the students' feelings towards how they learn and how they manage the different things that happening in the classroom. For example, you are giving your students an activity using an art to have this interpretation of something of that story, but you are doing it to understand your students' psychoanalysis, how they interpret that message. So the second one is identifying the problem. So the teacher is encouraged to recognize the barriers and the diagnosed problems and provide individualized interventions and services to help the student. So of course, as a teacher, you are considered as a second parent. So you need to identify what is the problem of your students whenever they are encountering difficulties, they have learning barriers, or they have these problems that they are showing off. You can identify that and give some interventions, or you can use different strategies to serve and to help the students to cheer up and understand. So another was one of the solutions is to perform art therapy. Children rarely resist the art making process because it offers ways to express themselves and that are less threatening than strictly verbal means. So one of the solutions when the students have difficulties or having a problem in their mind or their feelings, it is one thing that the teacher can do is an art therapy. So you can perform art therapy. With that, you can have an art integrated process that you will make students do arts, understand what that specific performance or past performance is, and they will able to express their feelings with that. They can express their excitement. They can show their talents through creativity with that. So do you remember when you are in elementary grades, we are very happy when the teacher will announce or will ask us, do you want drawing activity? So we are very happy, right? So with art therapy, we are very excited with drawing, coloring, or everything that is related to art. So that could be a good example of a art integration. So we can have the psychoanalytic theory in arts teaching and learning. So last, we have the art therapy process. Children are encouraged to visually represent their thoughts and feelings, such as conflicts, wishes, and memories. So for example, in this part, you will let your students make an art craft or draw something that describes their dreams, their feelings, and their wishes in life. So in that, you will understand how they think, how will they use their imagination skills, and how they will process, how it will be the thinking or the cognitive process of the students will run through your art integrated learning process. So with that, through art therapy, the children will encourage a visual represent. So they will imagine. Before that, they will also think of what they want to be.
Hi, greetings for everyone. I am Julissa G. Cortado, and I'm about to discuss the Gestalt theory. So, the Gestalt movement, pioneered by Max Wertheimer 1880-1943, Kurt Kofta 1886-1941, and Wolfgang Kohler 1887-1967, emerged in Germany in 1912 and until 1933, exercised a dominating influence on German psychology, which means Gestalt theory has three pioneered persons, but in a different time. Eventually, Gestalt theory dominate influence on German psychology, and that means that Gestalt theory in Germany is their way to conquer, or shall we say, to overcome a specific situations. Specifically, it is their way to help people or to analyze the whole of the individuals. Gestalt is a perspective focuses on the belief that human consciousness cannot be broken down into elements. Gestalts means when parts identified individually has different characteristics to the whole. Gestalts means organized whole. So, why? Because in Gestalt theory, it helps us to become aware of those significant sensations within ourselves and especially to our environment so that we can respond fully and reasonably to specific situations, which means this will lead us not to focus on every components but instead to tend or to perceive elements of more complex. So through Gestalt theory, it helps us to emphasize that the whole of anything is greater than its part. Also, it is the law of good form, since the word Gestalt means form. So if there's a form, a shape, a color, or a pattern, then probably it's a Gestalt theory. For Gestalt psychologists, form is the primitive unit of perception. When we perceive, we will always pick out form. Our perceptions are influenced by our past experiences, and this principle is also called Prognan's law from Tan Un, Seng et al. 2003. In other words, if we have experiences from our past, then our perception will be influenced for what we got from our yesterdays and previous times. And that's the principles of Tan Un, Seng et al. 2000.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lai Geniusaurus, and I'm going to discuss about the Gestalt theory. So, what is Gestalt theory? Gestalt theory emphasizes that the whole of anything is greater than its parts. That is, attributes of the whole are not divisible from analysis of the parts of isolation. Gestalt theory, the law of figure ground discrimination. The Rubin vase shown in figure is an example of this tendency to pick out form. We do not simply see the black and white shapes. We also see the two faces and vase. Gestalt theory, law of proximity. Things which are closer together in space of time tend to be perceived as grouped together. Law of closure. Perceptually, we have the tendency to fill in the gaps. In other words, we can still read Washoe, see the square and read perception, despite the missing information. Application of Gestalt theory in the arts, teaching, and learning. This theory is applied to the brain as the whole, and it's not partly delivered. According to Rudolph in 1945, the appearance of the object depends on the location and the function is viewed as a whole. A. Intracerebral image contained from the children's observations. B. Image displays are drawn from children's artistic point of view. Application of Gestalt theory in the arts, teaching, and learning. As an art educator, we must accept the fundamental nature of the effects of the children. Thus, in childhood, we are not able to measure their intelligence by looking at the images in their works. As an art teacher, observation plays a crucial role in translating each image seen and observed. In art education, teacher can play an important role in motivation to balance the mental and cognitive of the children.
So the third one is the behaviorist theory. So behaviorism, also known as the behavioral psychology, it is a theory of learning based upon the idea that all behaviors are acquired through conditioning. So behaviorists believe that our responses through environmental stimuli shape our behaviors. So now let's move on to the application of behaviorist theory in the art teaching and learning. So the first one, teachers are encouraged to associate a variety of positive and pleasant events with learning and classroom activities. For example, a teacher may use attractive aids, decorate the classroom, greet the students and smile at them when he comes to the classroom, makes the student understand the rules of the classroom. So the last one, give ample time for students to prepare for and complete the learning task. So in order for this, the students are comfortable enough, no, and then kanang dili sila maglisod throughout their kanang learnings kanang throughout their lessons na.
Psychological theory of art integration is the cognitive theory. The cognitive theory or the cognitive revolution is the name for an intellectual movement in the 1950s that began with what are known collectively as the cognitive sciences. Two of the prominent figures in cognitive psychology are John Piaget in 1896 to 1980 and Lev Vygotsky in 1896 to 1934. So, cognitive theory focuses on the individual's thought as to determine his or her emotions, behaviors, and therefore his or her personality. This also focuses on how and what people think can lead to the arousal of emotions, and that certain thoughts and belief leads to disturbed emotions and behaviors. So, major area of research in cognitive psychology includes perception, memory, categorization, knowledge, presentation, numerical recognition, and even thinking. So, cognitive revolution was the shift of intellectual into psychology during the 1950s. This focuses on internal mental processes driving human behavior. So, John Piaget is a Swiss psychologist who was the first to systematically study cognitive development. He concluded that people use mental framework called schemas to build their internal senses of reality, while Lev Vygotsky's cognitive development theory argues that cognitive abilities are socially guided and constructed, such as culture serve as a mediator and also learning, memory attention, and even problem solving.
Good day, everyone. So I am Claire Zyrene Reyes. So for today, I will be talking first about the meaningful learning. So teachers need to promote more effective learning. The teacher need to link new information to familiar information. Example, if teacher want to teach about rice plantation, it is advisable for him or her to organize trip to Sapak Bernam where rice are planted or show them video showing rice plantation in Sapak Bernam. So, sa meaningful learning, dapat ang teacher maghimo og effective learning. Effective learning strategy, pwede siya magpasalida or magpa-video baron. And para meaningful ang learning, the teacher should provide an example para mas dali siyang masabtan sa mga students. So, second is dual coding theory. So, guide students to process information using dual coding theory. Dual coding theory suggests that we remember better when two processes are engaged, visual learning and verbal learning. So, dual coding theory, makatabang ni sa mga students na mag-encode information sa ilahang brain. For that, dali ra ma-retrieve later on ang mga na-encode ng mga information nga nagikan sa ilahang brain. So, visual thinking. So, this may help students to develop visual thinking, whereby the learner comes better to understand and retain information better by associating ideas, words, and concepts with images. And verbal learning tied good at tests that build on the ability to quickly and accurately respond to spoken or written instructions. So third, schema theory. It engaged students in schema theory while teaching. This theory suggested that our prior knowledge can facilitate or enhance transfer of learning. So example, in teaching account, the teacher may use prior knowledge or formula they have learned earlier in mathematics. So, schema theory is help na siya nga mo organize and interpret sa ato ideas. Another example also no is like a teacher in college lecturing about algebra, since algebra is gitudo na sa grade 7. So, ang teacher magpa-recall sa mga prior knowledge sa mga students about what they have been learned in algebra. So, next will be the phases of learning. So, according to Gagny, 1985 translated the information processing model into an instructional model called phases of learning. As detailed in table 5.1, Gagny parallels information processing with instructional events. So, aning phases of learning, it helps to evaluate students systematically, improves the quality of a teacher.
Toward the theory of arts integration. Imaging theory. In the recent book Imagery and Text, Sadusky and Pavio 2001, the full name of Sadusky and Pavio is Mark Sadusky and Alan Pavio. The authors describe dual coding theory, Pavio 1971 and 1986. As it applies to reading, the theory states that we code the language of text through two separate systems, the verbal system and the imagery system. Causal network theory. The second theory of reading posits that when reading narrative text, readings tend to retain the story events that they casually connect to other events. Further, the events in the text that have the most causal connections to other events are the ones that readers are most likely to retain. Charbasu and Van den Broek, 1985, Fletcher and Bloom, 1988. Arts integration activities. Arts integration activities can take many forms. These are just a few examples. First, catching images of characters, settings, and events as they arise in one's mind while reading. Second, painting a moral of the conflict and resolution of a story. Third, dramatizing the dynamics of an atom, including speculation about how the protons feel about their relationship with the neutrons and why. Fourth, drawing an insect in each setting from several angles. Fifth, creating music to express major events of an era, the 1960s.